indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Acceptance of the agenda. Be it resolved that the Board of Education accepts the August 12th, 2024 meeting agenda as presented.
Support.
It's been motioned by Laster, supported by Davis. Hiles. Kennard. Evans.
Yes.
Motion carries. Well, I'm sorry, Davis. I apologize.
Yes.
Laster, yes. I guess I was seeing where we up. Apologize. Motion carries. All right, we are on to public comment. No worries. I was just testing to see where we up anyway. Else?
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
I just want to, first of all, thank you very much for the basket that we will be putting together from you for your donation for our golf outing tomorrow that goes for our students at the middle school and high school. I'm pleased to tell you that this is going to be a very, very successful event tomorrow. It's a fun event. I wish that more of you would participate in the event. I think you would have a good time. I think you would enjoy meeting all the golfers and all of the volunteers and people that give their time for the betterment of our school district and our children. So if you have time, please join us tomorrow. If you can come before the golfers leave at 8, is that shotgun or 9? 9. At 8 and meet everybody, or come at 2, we would love to see you. Thank you very much.
That's it. Okay, thank you, Mrs. Bales. We are at presentations. We have a real estate update. So I felt this was important because coming in, I've heard Merriman, different sides of the stories. I felt like it was just important for all board members and the public to kind of hear where we are with Merriman. So we have Lauren Faulkner joining in from Chicago to give us an update. Thank you. And she is with Miller Johnson. Okay, so I guess we are having technical difficulties at this moment. We will bring up Mr. Paul Getson. He is here from Varsity Tutors. He's a Director of Educational Partnership. Again, he's with Varsity Tutors for Schools. Thank you, Mr. Getson.
Absolutely. Actually, my name is, what was that? Oh. I don't really know. It's on. Can you hear me?
Let's start us off. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Hello, everyone.
So I wanted to give you all some background on Varsity Tutors. So we don't have Paul, we have,
My name is Jared Roth.
yes, so he's standing in for Paul. Before we go into Varsity Tutors, I did want to clear up a couple of items that was stated at the last board meeting about tutoring. A statement was made that our current tutoring is being paid out of our school's Title I funds. That is inaccurate. We actually completed a very thorough, intense 23G, which means Michigan Kids Back on Track grant, that's paying for all of our tutoring and transportation. So I want to clear, excuse me? The 23G stands for Michigan Kids Back on Track. very intense application. So I'm very happy that we received it, but I want to clarify that our schools are not being shorted or any money's come out of their own budgets to cover their own tutoring. They actually are getting money back because we earned that grant. So I just wanted to clarify that and make sure we had the facts regarding our tutoring for our school year. All right. Next, thank you. Next, I want to bring up our varsity tutors consultant to speak about additional options for tutoring. The reason why we're bringing up additional options, honestly, as we all know, we have a chronic absenteeism problem. If students are not coming to school, what is the likelihood they're going to come after school? So varsity tutors, as Jared will share very soon, gives us a virtual option for all students in Romulus Community Schools to have an opportunity to receive tutoring. And with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Jared. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gardner.
Jared, sorry to interrupt you. Can you just say your name one more time, your full name for the
Yeah,
record?
absolutely. It's Jared Roth. Absolutely. I'm going to turn this way just so I'm staying in sync with what you guys are looking at on the screen here. Oh, I do? Yes. Never mind then. Here we go. That's right. 21st century stuff here. All right. So first off, thank you very much for having us today. Very much appreciate Romulus Community School and the board hearing us about opportunities to partner. Varsity Tutors for Schools has been partnering with districts and with families around the country for over 17 years. Let's see if this works. Hang tight. Thank you. Let's see. There we go. Thank you. So we've been partnering with districts, but first off, we started partnering with families, and we started doing that about 17 years ago, working directly with students at home and with their families to make sure that parents could get their kids access to the resources that they needed, knowing that sometimes, as hard as we try within the school building, there are students we just can't reach out to. And so we've been in business focusing on those students, and then the last couple of years, we decided to start shifting, and we realized that not only do those students at home need assistance, but sometimes we need to help those students in school. All of us are stretched within the school buildings, right? Our teachers, we don't have the same number of teachers that are applying. We don't have the same number of teachers that are in the classroom. Our administrators are going into the classrooms, and they're having to fill in the gaps, which is putting a strain on the amount of work that they can do, and that these students are still being left behind as hard as we're trying because we simply don't have the capacity. And even if we try to work with just in-person tutors, there's not enough of a pool locally for us to be able to get a hold of all of the tutors that we need with the specialties that we need in order to support the students. And so we shifted a couple of years ago to be able to support both school districts, and we continue to support families at home through another vein of our partnership. As you can see, we have a trust rating of over 97%. And I want to point this out really quickly because I think that's an important factor in understanding that we really care about our customers. We're here to support you and along your entire journey, whether we're working with families at home or we're working with Romulus Community Schools, we're going to be sitting alongside of you to make sure that this is an incredible experience for you and your community. And how we do that, so Varsity, we have a streamlined approach where we have a customer success manager who will basically be holding your hand through the entire process, continually working with you to make sure that we're implementing the right structure. So whether it's those students that are at home that we're struggling with absenteeism with, maybe they have IEPs that are keeping them, maybe they have health issues or family issues keeping them at home, or whether it's within the school building, whether we're looking at in-school supports for pullouts, whether it's going to be after school or whether it's before school, we have a way to be able to reach those students either on a one-on-one capacity or within small groups. So if we have students that we've seen from our NWEA or iReady reports that are saying, hey, we're behind, we can go ahead and work with them to make sure that we're supporting them, getting them where they need. We align to your district. So again, whether that's before, during, after, or at home, in addition to aligning to the different curriculums that you've invested in, we'll look at the materials that you have and we'll incorporate those materials into our strategies and how we're supporting the students to make sure that we're aligned with the community values. And then we're gonna be, all of this is research backed. So I'm gonna pop in here really quickly. As we talk about research backed, when we talked about ESSER fundings, when we talk about 23G, when we talk about 31A or 98C, or you name the different funding sources and we're talking about tutoring, all of these different funding sources have one thing in common, and it's making sure that we have a methodical message to make sure that we're reaching the different students. So that includes high quality instruction that's happening at least once a week, that's for an hour to 90 minutes, and it's anywhere from 1 to 4 different students, or 1 to 4 or 1 to 5 different students, that we have consistent access to the same tutor, or teacher, right, at the same time. They've got to be consistent, otherwise you don't build that relationship, and relationships are so important. With it, we get embedded into the school program. Again, this is before, or after, or during, or again, we can work with the parents at home to support those students who we just can't get into the building. And that everything is data-driven. So we've got outcomes coming after each and every meeting, as well as we have pre and post assessments to make sure that we're continuing to work with you, share that information with you, and as a team, we're driving those students to success. Our platform is purpose-built. And when I say that, I mean that it's device agnostic. So whether the kids have a computer, whether they just have a phone or an iPad, we can get on board. Everything that we're doing is recorded so they can go back to it. You as administrators or teachers can go back and look at what we recorded. It's all integrated through your curriculum. We're doing constant formative assessments so we can do it. Images can be uploaded or downloaded from your class. So if you've got curriculum that you guys are using, if you've created a scope and sequence, you want to upload that for how we're doing it. All of that information can be integrated into the system so we're aligned with what you guys are doing within your community. And we really do that, as I started to allude to, through 3 different vessels. We have district aligned, we have teacher assigned, and we have parent assigned. District assigned is going to be your tier 3 intervention. Those are the students who are falling way behind. The district says, we really need to intervene here and get these students back on track. This also could be the students who are at home. The teacher assigned are those that are on the bubble, right? Maybe the teacher just said, these guys just need a little extra support along. Maybe we are doing 1 to 5 and they're struggling with the concept in geometry, and we just need to keep them moving throughout the year. And then the parent assigned. This is where the district works with the parent or whoever the connection is at home to help make sure that those students have access to tutoring outside of your school day hours, or even during the school day hours if they can't do it at home. It's for what's best for that family, what works outside of what the typical school system. Can I play from here? There it goes. If I hit next, we'll play. I wanted to share this video because I think it does a nice job of highlighting how the platform works. What do I think? No? Maybe? If it doesn't work, that's okay. We'll give it a go. Oh, there's a play at the bottom. Oh, no. Okay. Then we'll move on. Now I'm stuck. Okay. Thank you. All right. Oop, I didn't mean to click back into it. So we talked about how the platform allows all the access across the 3 different platforms. This is also an excellent resource for elementary, middle, or high school. It doesn't matter what grade we're in. We can work with your kindergarten students and we can work with your 12th grade students. It doesn't matter if we're talking ACT, SAT support, or if we're working on the fundamentals of reading with phonemic awareness. We have tutors that are specialized in each of those areas, or if a student just has special ed needs and need a little additional support, we have tutors that can support in any of these areas. These are subject matter experts who go through rigorous vetting processes on a continual basis to make sure that we're vetting and checking their background. In addition, we put them through a pretty intensive check when we put them on. Not every teacher is going to make a great virtual teacher, and we want to make sure that they have a virtual presence to be able to connect with those students. God knows if I was trying to be a virtual tutor, that probably wouldn't go so well. So we want to make sure that the person who's in front of them is somebody who can make those connections and also has a continual background to check to make sure that they're safe for your community. In Michigan, obviously we're across the US, but in Michigan, in terms of those that are certified here in the state, we have over 500 different certified teachers that can support your program. 77 of them are located right here in Metro Detroit, and 27 of those are going to be special education students, are special education certified. So we can meet the need regardless of your expectation, both with local to Michigan support, but also additional support that comes around nationwide. And we've seen the impact of growth. 2 years of math comprehension gained. An additional year of reading comprehension gained. By utilizing the platform, we've also seen a 11.4% decrease in absenteeism just because of confidence alone. It's a socio-emotional response. Obviously, we can't answer the question of how do students get to school, but we can reach those students at home. But for those students who are afraid to come to the classroom or afraid to get involved because they're embarrassed, by giving them the power of the education, we can help them feel confident, be in the classroom and be part of that classroom and participate with their peers rather than having to shy away. In one of the districts that we did a study with out in California, we saw more than 2 times growth over the average student in math alone, utilizing the product and taking advantage of the high dosage tutoring. I also want to point out that all of our high dosage tutoring and support with tutoring sits on a platform that all of your students will have access to in the effort to be equitable for all students that we look at as support for homework. It has 24/7 live chat tutoring with an actual person. It has on-demand essay review where students can submit their papers for revision and suggestions on how to improve it, grammatically and composition. It'll also check to make sure that they're not using AI. And then we've got live group classes and recorded enrichment classes for those students that just want to better themselves or learn a little bit something more. College prep courses, if we're thinking about ACT, SAT, I know my kids are about to go off to college. And so prepping for the ACT, the SAT to get them in was no fun piece. They were miserable. They needed to know where to go. This was a great spot to be able to go. And then we have ongoing assessments and study skills. So I want to point this out too. Kids can come in, take self-assessments to figure out where they're at. This also happens before they start their high dosage tutoring to understand the gaps. It figures out where they need to start because everything's a building block. So we need to start where the first block is in terms of that loss to tell them where they need to go in order to improve on those skills. And then we also have some fun stuff like celebrity-led courses where you'll be able to see different celebrities do share some of the things that they understand. You might find some of those things out on the web, on Netflix and so forth in terms of examples of that. Wanted to point out here, again, we're ADA, IDA, and YCAG AA compliant. Essentially, if you don't know what YCAG is, which is the one that people always get caught up on, essentially means in terms of accessibility, we are extremely friendly to any other types of resources that you may have to plug in for students with dyslexia or reading or other sorts of issues to make sure that they can get in and it will be friendly with those platforms as well. And we will make sure that we are reporting on everything to make sure that you have the data that you need to move things forward and that you can feel secure. We record everything for playback, but also if there's any questions, we have all of that video evidence for you and for us to be able to move forward on any of those pieces as well. Just a couple of the districts that I wanted to point out that we work with around the state. And these are just examples from different places around. And I won't bore you with reading all of the different supports here, but if you guys want to take a minute, you feel free to kind of look over some of those. These are districts that we partner with that have all provided recommendations for us.
Do you have a copy of your presentation for us to view?
Yes, I shared that with you all, and you are more than welcome to take a peek through it. That concludes the presentation. What questions can I answer for you? And thank you for your time.
Madam President, so you're saying that during, your staff will be in our buildings during the day and before classes start and at home?
Yeah, so let's say that it'll be in your buildings virtually and at their homes virtually. So this is a virtual platform. So we will have the tutors that are located in Michigan or around the country that will be accessible to your students at any of those given times.
And so then the teachers will put them on computers in their classrooms, or so that you don't have, you physically will not be in the buildings?
We will physically not be in the buildings.
Okay.
Correct. So that can happen a couple of different ways. Different districts have pull-out programs, they have after-school programs, they have before-school programs when it's within the building, where those students can then get into, and I'm sure Dr. Gardner can speak to that further, but where they can get in front of the computers and be able to do it either one-on-one or 1 to 5.
So we still have to have staff, our staff, on hand, in attendance, to do the tutoring program. So is this different than what is it? IXL?
It is different. I will emphasize, our focus would be on the after-school component. The option during school is offered because we do have interventionists that are working with all of our students. So in the event they want an additional option to provide support to them in that work, this can be an additional option. I think our focus for the district would be around after-school tutoring outside of the school hours. We want to get input. We don't want to make any decisions like at the central office level or TOP. We want to get input from our teachers, our interventionists, to see is it something they might want to do in regards to providing support to them. But I think I know what we are proposing is more so the after-school opportunity for after-school tutoring, which will be virtual.
And how will students be transported home?
So if it's virtual, they won't need to come to school. They can actually
After,
go home.
if it's after school, they'll be at home.
Yes.
Doing virtual.
It'll be
So
virtual.
everything is virtual.
Yes, everything is virtual.
And so this is probably a question more for Dr. Edmondson and Mr. Brock. Has the REA bought off on being able to pull students, and does this affect their classrooms?
It'll help support their classroom. So to the point about students who are not attending school and they still want to get support because they're not in school, this will actually help the classrooms.
So if they have 5 students that need to go to the computers, it'll be done in their classrooms, or it will be in a different setting?
It'll be at home.
Okay, if a student is in school, are they going to receive tutoring while they're in school? Extra help?
That's not what we're focusing on.
It's only
an option.
absentee? It's only
Correct.
absentee? Oh,
Not absentee. So let me just restate it.
if it's during school, then they're absent, correct or incorrect? Or they will be in school receiving additional help?
No, it'll be after school.
Okay, but I'm reading here, it says they'll be doing tutoring before, during, and at home.
He just mentioned the options.
Okay, those are options.
We're going to focus on after school, but we want to offer that opportunity to our interventionists and teachers to say, we have this option as well. Are you interested? Not something that we're going to decide. We want to get their input, let them know we do have this opportunity that will be built into the platform. But our focus will be on after school, students receiving it at home, virtually, getting that tutoring opportunity.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your presentation. I'm familiar with varsity tutors, and I'm glad to see that this is on our agenda tonight to learn more about this, so thank you.
You're welcome.
I know that, so if I understand correctly, there's a lot of this is at no cost, it's free. We can get all of our students entered, and they can then immediately start accessing the diagnostics, the sessions, the tutors, all of that. Is that accurate?
That is for the 24/7 platform, which is free. There's another component that's high dosage tutoring. So the 24/7 platform is only a chat. So let's say I have a algebraic problem. I have to type that problem into the chat. I'll get a response via chat. The high dosage tutoring will actually have those content experts, those certified teachers, actually face-to-face in a video that can actually help and support the students. So that's the part that costs money, the high dosage tutoring. And Jared shared, and this is actually open to what's best for the district, but the initial thinking is that we will use that for our bubble or our not yet students. These are students who are right on the cusp of being proficient or right on the cusp of being at grade level. By getting that additional support to them that can help them actually meet or bypass those expectations. But again, we're open to what that might look like for the district regarding who receives the high dosage tutoring with that certified teacher face-to-face virtually for them.
Okay, so all students would have the free
Yes.
platform, and then the high dosage would be selected?
Correct.
Select students. Okay, and do we know what the approximate cost is for that per student?
Yes, I don't know per student, but I know the total cost is $28,000. It's like $28,800 is the total cost.
And that's regardless of how many get the
We
high
had it
dosage, or?
Based on some licensing, it was like 20 licenses, so it's spread out. Jared might have that details. I just know the total amount was $28,800 that covered our approximate number of bubble students for K through 12.
So, and how many students are on one license?
The way that the licensing works is we base it off of a 1-year or a multi-year contract. And so it's $35 to $40 per session based off whether it's 1 year or multi-year. And so if it's a one-on-one, as example, it's going to be $40 per session. And if it's, let's say, 5 students in a session, then it's going to be $7 a student because the price per session stays the same.
Okay.
So it'll be based off of the number of sessions, and we figure out in order for this to be most effective for all students, it's X number of times a week. So we would work that out with all of you and come up with a price based off of the number of students or number of sessions per week that we need for the number of weeks. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that does, thank you. So, for those students, so if we're doing this after school and we're targeting the bubble, which is, I mean, that's strategically a good move, to give them that little support to get them up. What about students who don't have devices at home or internet? Can they stay after and utilize our technology and then be transported home, or?
And I would want to definitely connect with IT to make sure I answer accurately. So I want to get back with you. I will share, we want to use the same model. I know HR uses this model where we actually present to you all first, and at the next meeting, we'll actually have a motion for you all to vote on if we approve it or not. And I can have that answer for you, but I want to answer for IT at this time.
Okay, so approximately 28.8, and that's for 20 licenses. And I'm sorry, I didn't understand the, how many students, what is the range of students who can be served with 20 licenses?
So if you have 20 licenses, right? So you can essentially multiply that by 5. So it could be 100 students per license. So because you have to think, it's up to 5 students per session, right? So it just depends on what the intent is and how you're going to utilize it. Obviously, for those students who are a little bit, maybe need a little bit more support, you may want to cut down to 1-on-1 versus 1-on-5 to make sure we can meet those specific needs. But again, there's a lot of flexibility in that. And our customer success manager that I mentioned earlier, as we move into that process, they'll sit down with the team here and say, okay, who all do we need to serve? What are our challenges? They'll go through a list of different questions to make sure that we're working and building out the right scope to serve this community.
So those 5 students who, a maximum of 5 students can meet together in that 1-hour session. So they would be 5 students that are needing support in the same area.
Correct. Yeah. So again, I'll use the example of geometry, right? So if those 5 students all needed support in understanding how to measure, the radius of a circle, for example, and they just didn't understand the formula, great, right? So we can group them all together and we can break down how to do that, or understanding like the circumference, and then you need to know the radius and diameter. et cetera, so that the tutor would get on with that small group and walk through. They would understand, they would do an assessment to figure out kind of what the missing piece was in understanding, build off of that foundation, and then move up utilizing the curriculum that you all have invested in here within the district.
Okay, thanks. So this is my last question. In your experience, how are other districts coordinating the grouping of 5 students and needing the same academic support at the same time?
Yeah, absolutely, great question. So it really, in this particular case, so it really depends. So it depends whether we do teacher assigned or whether we do district assigned. And oftentimes when we do teacher assigned, they're the closest ones to the students who are seeing that day-to-day kind of struggle. And so they oftentimes will set up that group based off of those gaps. So they'll say, oh my gosh, Johnny and Beth and Mary and Sue are all struggling with this particular concept. And then they'll be able to set up a time for that in order for that to go on. If we're doing this at home and these are students that are not coming in at all, then we would have to be working closely with the principal and of course the team here at administration to understand kind of where they should be based on scope and sequence. And then we would be able to kind of use that to determine those next steps in terms of the communication and study. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, it does, because I'm just thinking of especially like our secondary students where, they all have this common struggle, let's say geometry.
Yep.
But within the groups, some of them work after school, some have sports
Yes.
after school, so I'm just wondering with limited time after school, how, just based on your experience, the
Yeah.
ease of actually coordinating that.
So that's, sometimes when we're talking about out of school, the logistics of how many can be served within that class, sometimes we have to go down to 2 or 3 instead of 5 because logistically those challenges make it very difficult. So the little bit that's going to have to flex within the community and what we know to be true, but that's why we offer 1-to-1 and all the way up to 1-to-5 in order to meet those kind of flexibilities within a classroom. Because heck, if you try to look at my family schedule, it's insane starting this week with the amount of different things my kids are up to. And that's going to be over, you multiply that over 5 families and it's really difficult. But that's why we offer 1-to-1 all the way up to 1-to-5. So we can, even if we can't meet them all at the same time, we can do one-on-one intervention with them instead of the small group.
So students who couldn't meet in that group because of maybe sports or work, are they able to view the recordings?
So if they were part of that group that was
They never
supposed to be
attended.
part of it, then they would be able to get access. That would be something you'd be able to share out. You have access to that as administration.
Thank you for clarifying. We're gonna, if the board has any more questions, we can go ahead and get those to Dr. Gardner before this becomes an action item for the next board meeting. So
Can we get this
presentation,
presentation?
absolutely.
Definitely. Thank you so much
Thank
for your
you so
time.
much. Thank you. Appreciate your time. Thank you. So Mrs. Faulkner from Miller Johnson, I guess it was technical difficulty. I just want to state that she was ready since about 5:50, so I don't know what happened, but we're going to get her going for the real estate update. Thank you. Okay, thank you. We are going to go forth and just read the one meeting. Thank you. The consent agenda while we're waiting to get Ms. Faulkner on. Thank you.
Be it resolved that the Board of Education approves the August 12, 2024 consent agenda as presented. Matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine in nature by the Board of Education and will be acted upon by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items. If any member of the board or any citizen requests discussion of an item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will become the first item of business under the report of the superintendent portion of the agenda. A, approval of the minutes of the Board of Education, 1, July 29, 2024 special board meeting, 2, July 29, 2024 regular board meeting, and 3, August 5, 2024 special board meeting. B, approval of the bills for payment as submitted by Dr. Marie Gistinger in the amount of $3,741,058.66. And C, approval of the personnel actions as submitted by Human Resources Director Kevin Brock, Stacy Metzger, Health Occupational Teacher, Romulus High School, Jenna Suzio, Speech Pathologist, and James Whiteford, Special Ed Resource Teacher at Romulus Middle School.
Support.
It's been motioned by Davis, supported by Wester.
Madam President, I would like to remove the payables from the agenda, from the consent agenda. I have questions regarding one specific vendor whom we are paying. I can give you the check numbers, but I would like to know if there is a contract for, it appears as if there's an
Need to do the
employee.
motion to remove it first.
I'm sorry.
We gotta
I'm
do
sorry,
the
motion to remove it. I'm sorry.
So we have an amended motion by Evans. Is there support?
Support.
Amended motion by Evans, supported by Piles. Evans,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Piles,
Yes.
McCarthy,
Yes.
Wester, yes, Laster.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Madam President, for the past few weeks, we have been issuing checks to one individual. It appears as if they're an employee. Different rates. This last check register, we have a food reimbursement, and I would like to know if there's a contract for this employee. I can give you check numbers.
What page is it on?
I'm sorry?
What page?
Page 2 of 15, page, page 1, page 2. I'm
If we're
sorry.
on page 2, is it for vendor 14315?
Correct.
Okay, that was brought to me by another board member in lengthy detail about probably what you're going to say. So
About a contract?
contracts, the full portfolio of since they've been in the district. Does that kind of cover what you were going to ask? How much they've been paid since they've been?
Well, no, if there is a contract, why hasn't the board approved it?
Okay, yeah, I have all of that written down, so I will get that to the board. Once, I mean, it was just presented to me about 5 minutes before we started the meeting, so.
Okay. All right. Very good, as long as we're going to get that.
Yes,
and-
I will
and-
ensure that the board, lengthy detail, so I will make sure that that is answered in
Thank
its
you very
entirety.
much.
No problem.
And then I have one more, I'm sorry. There is a large, there's payroll checks that are being reissued under accounts.
Can you mute them?
You said payroll checks under account payables?
Yes, that are returned payroll checks, and now we're issuing them under accounts payable. Is that standard policy, procedure?
Which page are you on?
Page 3. And it's check number 230831 and 230833.
I'm sorry, what page?
Page 3. 23080831 and 230833.
Correct. Is that standard practice that we issue an accounts payable check if a payroll check has been returned? There's a lot of, there's several things that are reissued checks. And I believe this one, Mr. Perkins might be able to answer. The curb appeal concepts, is that the replacement sign at Hale Creek? Thank you, I thought so. All right, that's it.
Can you give me those numbers again for your check numbers? It was on page 3, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
You want me to read it?
yeah.
230831 and 230833.
Thank you.
Madam President,
Yes.
while we're here, I don't know, page number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Page number 6. And it is check number 230876. Okay, so we've brought this before. I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. There's another one on here. It's that same vendor, but it has a name.
What check was that?
No, I read the wrong one. I wrote it down here, but just so we can be 731. It was
Oh,
this-
it's 230916, page 9.
You said page
Yes.
9.
So the date is July 31. We just need to be intentional that we're protecting employees' privacy and that be redacted before this gets posted.
Yes.
And then I had submitted questions to you about insurance, but there is something else on here that is, and we can get it later, but Continental Cafe, it's in an amount of, I'm sorry, it's
Check number.
230897, and it's on July 24th. Are these
Page
pages number? Oh, yes, up here, thank you. Page 8, it's the third one, 230897, and in the amount of $2,000. It's Continental Cafe, and it reads that it's event, and there's a number, deposit 1 of 6. So this will be 12,000, if we could just find out what that's for. And I apologize for not submitting this. As I shared, we had a death in the family and a funeral, so I wasn't able to give this the regular review. But in addition to those that I brought to you, that also.
Okay. Well, if you give me a couple of days, I will get with Dr. Gistinger and just, I know you had circumstances, but moving forward, 5 minutes before the meeting or just kind of compile with a lot of stuff. And we have, the agenda already set. I don't mind going forth, getting answers, because that's what I've been doing all week. I received questions at governance training. I've got all those answers compiled. So I just want to make sure I have enough time to get everything done. I don't mind going to get the answers for you guys.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Madam President, just another thing that's recurring is we're still, when you look into those, we're still paying both DTE and Constellation New Energy for heat fuel.
That stopped for about 6 months to a year.
Right. And then it's back, and I know
So the issue is we're paying both.
yes.
You wanna know
For
why?
the same buildings.
Okay.
The same, heat fuel for the same buildings, 2 different companies. And I believe I had submitted that in the Google Doc.
At one point,
The Constellation I could speak to, one's gas, one's electric.
Right.
So that's what the Constellation is.
but we're paying on DTE, we're paying both electric and gas.
Right.
Not-
Well-
Not from my understanding.
No, on here.
It's on the payables as heat for DTE.
I looked at the bills themselves and there was just electric on. I could verify that.
Well, because then the accounts payable is wrong.
Right.
the description on accounts payable.
Probably
Okay.
more likely, yes.
So what DTE is, one of them is 112615510, which is an electric accounting code. But then it has, I'm sorry, is heat fuel, then it has electric, and it's a 5520. So a theory is that what we're coding in heat fuel under 5510 is not heat fuel, but likely a delivery charge for the electricity, which would be correctly coded under 5520.
Delivery code for,
You know, like water, you get the sewer fees.
I can't speak to
electricity,
the
you get a
accounting
delivery.
codes, but I can tell you, I looked at the bills myself, and there was just electric and Constellation is our gas.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins. Okay, so I know Merriman has been a hot topic. We can definitely get these questions answered. Can we, it was amended. So if I get everything to you with Scout's honor, can we roll forth with approving? Okay, thank you. I never did. I wanted to, but, okay.
So how good is Scout's honor if you're not a scout?
I'm giving you guys my Scout's honor that, and for the people that I will get the answers for you, so. All right.
We have a motion to approve the approval of the bills for payment.
Support.
It's been motioned by Wester, supported by Davis. Roll call vote, please.
Wester, yes. Davis,
Yes.
Piles,
Yes.
Evans,
yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Laster,
Yes.
McCarthy.
Yes.
Thank you, Board. Ms. Faulkner, I do apologize. Thank you for your patience through technical difficulties and for joining us today to give us an update.
No worries. Nice to see you all. I'm sorry I can't be there in person. Can you hear me okay? I just want to make sure I'm coming through. Yes. Okay, good. So, let's see. The briefest update I can give is that we were under contract to sell Meriden. We were scheduled to close on that contract on July 24th. And the buyer, which is a church, was unable to get their financing in place in time, partially related to the break-in and the vandalism that was done at the property, partially due to their own, I don't know, inability to do things on time. So we had given them a bit more time to get their financing in place after the repairs were done, but they weren't able to do so for whatever reason. So I sent an email to the buyers, the church's lawyers, saying that Romulus was going to terminate the contract because they had breached by not being ready to close on the closing date. And that in accordance with the contract, the $20,000 of earnest money should now go to the seller. It's very clear in the contract. The buyer's attorney disagrees and thinks that they have an indefinite amount of time to get financing together. But also they have asked for a number of different variations of extensions for their financing. So he's kind of trying to play both arguments. But the short story is that he's refusing to agree that the earnest money should be released and that the contract should be terminated. So that's about where we stand. The offers that are on the table are a land contract, which would mean that the church closes on the property. They have a land contract interest in the property, and they have 90 days to pay off effectively a loan from the school district. And then they would own the property outright. The downside to that course of action, the upside is we get to close sooner. The downside is the district needs its money later, and the church now has a stronger claim to the property. If they don't end up paying off the loan, it's harder to get rid of them. The alternative that they have offered, and Ben can chime in on this, is either a 30 to 60 to 45 to 90 day extension. They keep changing the timeline for them to get their act together and bring their financing to closing, and then we close just like we would have, just later in time. The downside to that is that the property remains tied up, and we gotta keep going through this for another indefinite amount of time, maybe up to 90 days. The upside to that course of action is that there's not really much that you guys would need to do between now and then. We would need to sign just a quick amendment to the contract saying that the closing date has been extended by X number of days. And my recommendation would be that that amendment to the contract is also very clear that if they don't close, they do forfeit the earnest money, so we don't end up in the same fight with their lawyer. And then at least after whatever amount of time that is that you give them, you guys will know one way or the other, and you'll be done. End of speech. I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Madam President. Ms. Faulkner, in the process of buying this property, our buyers buying the property, we received a conditional approval from the buyers with a timeline of everything that needed to be complete for a full approval, or was the loan fully approved when they sent you the approval letter, or was it a conditional approval?
That's a great question. So I think that that is, it was not a conditional approval. However, the property was damaged after that approval, so the lender is no longer willing to loan the same amount of money because they're uncertain about the condition of the property and whether it's still worth what it was at the time they gave you approval. So we went through the repairs process, and what's holding it up right now is the lender needs to do a new appraisal to see if they are still willing to lend the same amount of money.
Okay, so they offered a full approval prior to the appraisal, or the appraisal was already done, and then they issued a full approval?
Yes, they did, and it was the vandalism that caused the issue, is the lender said, well, wait, I don't know, let's say the property was worth 700,000, it's a round number. Due to the damage, maybe it's only worth 500,000 now. And if it's been repaired, maybe worth 600,000, just for round numbers. But the lender needs to know that it's still worth the amount they're gonna put into it. Otherwise, they're putting themselves at risk of not being able to recoup the loan. So they need to do a new appraisal and a new confirmation.
Okay, so what prevented us from closing on time if they had a full approval and the property was already fully appraised for the purchase amount? What prevented the buyer from purchasing or closing the property on time?
It was the issue of the damage being done to the property, and essentially the approval that was given originally was revoked because of the damage to the property.
So it was that means it was a conditional approval and not a full approval, correct?
No, it was a full approval. If the property had never been damaged, we would have already been closed and we would be done.
I guess I'm not understanding, because if it was a full approval with an appraisal already done, then the buyer should not have to go back to the lender to close the property. I have a background in mortgage banking. Before I got into education, I worked for City Mortgage as a processor. So that's where I'm kind of confused, that if it's us or if it's the buyer. I wanna know where the disconnect is happening. If it's the buyer, then yes, we keep the EMD. But if it's us, then I think we should honor the buyers. And it's just me, I'm not speaking for the board, but in terms of best practice and good business, then maybe an extension to the purchase agreement. But I'm not speaking for the board.
Madam President? Hi, Ms. Faulkner. This is Ursula Wester, Secretary. What was the date of the original signed agreement for the purchase? And also, weren't they supposed to also supply insurance and get their own insurance when we first signed and agreed on this loan? This sale?
Sort of. So to answer your first question, the contract was signed December 7th of 2023. So last December. That was the effective date. The buyer was
23.
required to carry insurance can cover their due diligence inspections on the property. So since they don't own it yet, they're not
Right.
required to insure the property. That's the owner's responsibility. So in this case, that would be the district's responsibility. If they had damaged something as part of their due diligence, let's say they went in there to, I don't know, evaluate the structural condition of the walls and they punched a hole in the wall. Their insurance would cover something like that.
Okay, question, when was the original closing date supposed to be? Because when we start talking about the vandalism okay, so we had time, how much time was there for closing? Because we're talking about the vandalism, so it happened during that time frame, right?
Well, you asked for the original date,
Right, the original closing date, right?
and when was the,
So actually, if we go back a little further, the vandalism happened in February, I think it was around Valentine's Day.
Okay,
We had a dispute over, so before you get to closing, there's a contingency before that. There's a
Okay.
date by which the buyer is given a certain amount of time to inspect the
rescind,
property.
okay.
If they're not satisfied with it, they can terminate the contract for any reason,
okay,
and that's typical in all contracts.
right,
So we gave them that same timeline. I think they were given 90 days from when the
Okay.
contract was signed.
when was the contract signed?
12/23,
Decided they didn't want to
December
move forward.
23.
December.
So that 90 days ended March 6th,
Okay,
2024. So that was after the vandalism.
got it, okay,
If I recall, and I can pull up some emails, there was again a dispute, and I think this is when their lawyer got involved. He was not involved at the beginning of this deal. I think we had, again, tried to force them to close because they hadn't terminated by that March 6th date. So under the contract, they were required them to move forward to closing. Their broker insisted that they weren't required to do that because of the vandalism, and that Romulus was required to fix the damage. I disagreed with them, they got a lawyer involved, we went back and forth on that a few times, and if I recall, Ben may have to back me up on this, I think everybody decided that we would just move forward to closing. The repairs would be done, and we would move forward. So that's how we got to the closing date of, I think it was originally July 15th, and then we gave them a slight extension again to the 24th.
okay, thank you.
So, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Debbie, and then it'll be Susan.
So, thank you for the information. So we were looking at the time would expire on March the 6th, and about 2.5 weeks prior to that, the vandalism occurred.
Correct.
And they had or they had not, like if the vandalism hadn't happened, had they secured their financing, or we're not sure?
They secured their financing. I have a document. Where am I working on two screens? They sent us their loan commitment, which is their lender saying, we are committed to loaning you X amount of dollars, provided that nothing changes. So maybe to answer the first question, I suppose that's the conditionality. You were saying whether it was a conditional or unconditional approval. I suppose the condition is, so long as nothing changes on the property, we will give you this amount of money as a mortgage. And that, if I can find their original approval. I feel like it was February 3rd, maybe? Loan commitment. February 26th. So actually, it sounds like that did come through after the vandalism, but I'm not sure that the lender had been notified of the vandalism. It may have all happened kind of at the same time.
So this letter that's dated July 29th.
Debbie, is your microphone on?
Oh, sorry. This letter that is dated July 29th, with the amount that they're approved up to, that is less than what they were originally going to pay for the property. Is that correct?
So I have not seen a letter from July 29th. Is that an updated
Yes,
loan commitment?
it's updated.
Yes, it's a commitment letter.
Check your email. It's updated.
What was the damage that was done? What was the cost of those repairs? And did the district cover those?
I don't know the answer to that. I believe the district did the repairs. I don't know that I was ever involved in the dollar amounts. I think that was handled by the district individually.
So this,
Dr. Edmondson, can you get us?
so
do you
this
know what the
letter
cost of those
also
repairs
states
were
that
we
the
did?
appraisal is a minimum value showing $765,000, okay? What if it, where does the appraisal come into play on what they're financing? Let's just say it comes in at $750,000. Now they're not going to get the loan.
Correct.
Okay.
So for the board, I don't remember the cost of the repairs. That was months ago with Jason and I. I mean, just how I feel. This is, I guess, my personal opinion. I'm not trying to represent the board or anything. I'm just talking about me. They approached me a good number of months ago, and I appreciated that I was, giving somebody a shot. You give them a shot. And then the vandalism came. I felt like, hey, they wanted to buy it, and based on what I heard, I'd never met them, face to face, but based on what I heard, I was pleased. I'm there to support that. Of course, I want the building to be sold as well. Then vandalism came, and it came in waves. It must have been 3 or 4 different times, and then we cameraed up. We did a whole bunch of things, and those things stopped, and then we paid for the repairs, and we continued. I believe that's part of a process that, it's hard. You buy a house and somebody vandalizes it, you're like, I'm not, there's no way I'm going to do that, because you don't know. Of course, I want the building sold. Of course, I'd like them to have their dream. If that's their dream, I'd like them to have their dream. I understand about earnest money, but I think it's hard to take $20,000 from somebody. I don't care who it is. That's tough. They're not responsible for the damage. It wasn't their fault. They didn't do that. It just happened. Okay, and it's happened in that building several times. Not their fault. It happened. We paid for it. We would have paid for it no matter what. We had no choice, so we did it. What I don't want to see is, I certainly don't want them to lose their money, but I don't want to be stuck either. That's the thing. I don't want to be stuck. It's happened before. We've had just a ton of issues, just in general. I think we all want it to be sold. I'd like to come up with some kind of agreement because I'd like to see them get that building. I would, but I don't want to be jammed up either. And that's the dilemma I think that we face here. That, we don't want to be stuck and then you're fighting over $20,000. Really? Come on now. I don't want to fight over $20,000. Of course, it's in writing and it would say that we are due the $20,000, but I also feel like in some respects, if you let somebody walk away, you let them walk away as long as there's no damage. You say, hey, no harm, no foul. Got you $20,000. I'm sorry it didn't work. We don't want you to look at the school district in a negative fashion. I don't want to do that. We're just kind of stuck right now. I don't even know what to do. Trustee Ebbets and I were having a conversation with the gentleman that brought it to us, and he sent me a couple emails, a couple texts. I haven't really done too much with that because I'm like, well, what am I going to do? Pass that on? I don't even know what to do at this point because we had passed the dates, we had passed the time, so that's why we're here now to determine what's next. Again, I'd like, if somebody has a dream, I don't want to be in the way of that. But also I think of, if it doesn't appraise, then you have a problem. You could probably get a loan, but then you're going to have to come up with the difference. Can you come up with the difference? If it's 720 and it's for sale for 750, you get 720, are you going to give us the 30,000 or not?
Right. So I do have a couple questions. What inspections, what amount of their due diligence, if any, has been completed? Any inspections that have been completed? Any appraisals? What progress have they made on their due diligence?
So I don't have a definitive answer to that. I believe everything has been done, but given the time that this is stalled, I don't know if they're planning to do an additional inspection. It's unclear to me from this commitment letter from the 29th whether the appraisal has been done or not. It looks like it's a contingency, but we can ask them to confirm, and I'd also like to know the timeline for the appraisal. That shouldn't really take that long.
Well, and also have the inspections been completed, because when Dr. Edmondson and I were speaking with the buyer, I believe no inspections had been done at that time, and that was just 3 weeks ago?
Probably about 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
I mean, but the interest was there. It's definitely there, but, you know, we've had that before. People are interested in it. It doesn't work, but, you know, I don't think somebody would be blowing me up or sending us emails or being willing to talk to us and not want it to come to fruition that they buy the building. But again, makes me nervous because that happened a couple years ago, last year. I mean, it's just been 2 or 3 times we've had this issue with this particular building too.
Do we have any other interest in this building?
I mean, according to the realtor, yes, but we've dealt with that buyer too, and that fell through.
So my question is this, is one, we were looking on July 29th, and they were approved for a line of credit after maintaining their credit union or their credit rating and not having negative lines of credit. They got approved up to an amount that was less than what they had committed to before the vandalism. So in that purchase agreement, they were paying more than this. Before, let's say the vandalism never happened, they are still coming up short in what they can be financed.
And what they can be financed. But again, you can still be financed, but you're on the hook for the difference. And I don't know that. I don't know if they're on the hook for the difference. They may say the building's not worth it. We're not going to pay that.
So that's why a land contract is really risky, and we're in the education
Yeah, I don't want to do.
industry, so I don't know, if we have interest,
Full of how you're swaying your vote.
right, if we have interest, then, I mean, it's like people are interested, I'm interested in a lot of things, and I don't have the cash to back up my interest. So, I don't know, that's why I'm asking, is there interest in this property with people who can finance it? If so, can we sell there? If not, can we just give them 90 days, and if they don't come up with all the
90
money
days
for
is
it?
still a land contract. And-
Sorry?
and 90 days would be a land contract, correct?
No, we don't
She said
we
there
don't
was
have
a
to,
couple options.
90-day closing extension. Just to be clear,
That's
those
the
are two different
extension.
yeah.
things.
And then, we're tied up for 90 days, period.
But I think we can go from, she said 30, 60, we can come up with that time frame. We
can
don't
come up
have
with
to
that,
do
right.
90. We could say,
Come up with 30
we
days.
could say 60, 40,
So
45.
my thing is if they were up, if their time was up on March 6th, and they had never had any inspections done,
They had 2 months.
how, right, so up to March 6th, and they never did any inspections, like, what kind of indication is that of how interested they really are? Because they're getting ready to close per the terms of the purchase agreement and hadn't done due diligence in the form of inspection. So, and I would like to think that, you know, this is somebody's dream, and yeah, they want it, but we've learned that we've had people blow smoke on this property, and it's this same story, just with different players.
It doesn't necessarily have to be the borrower's fault. It's really their lender. Their lender is the one, and their loan officer, and processor, they are the individuals who get it going. So the borrower can put some pressure and heat on their loan officer or processor, like, hey, I need to get this done. But at the end of the day, it's the lender's responsibility to do their due diligence throughout the process. My question is, we are selling this property for $765,000?
No,
Okay.
that's what they got approved for.
So what are we
So
selling
what are
it
we
for?
selling?
What are we selling it for?
And that was down from
815,000?
950.
That is the correct amount. If I can jump in quickly, I can answer that. The contract amount is $765,000,
Okay.
including the $20,000 of earnest money.
Okay, so if, let's say, the property did not appraise for the $765,000, would we lower the purchase price for that, or would the client have to pay the difference?
Client pays the difference.
But normally, if the appraised value, if it doesn't match the appraised value,
You're on the hook for the other part. That's what right, if you want to buy it and it comes in, if it's 350 and appraisal comes in at 275, if you want that, you're on the hook for the other portion of that.
Unless we were willing to negotiate.
Right.
Got it. Just wanted to ask for clarity. Some tough cookies.
When was the last appraisal on this property that we had done? Because we had them appraised it.
It was done, yeah, I think you were the last time it was done.
Okay.
No, I think the last time it was appraised was when you were here before. I believe so.
Okay, I do want to make note, I know it was a hand raise. We can have a special meeting, but we just can't have the verbiage right now or a workshop. So it's not that I'm ignoring. I didn't want to, I did acknowledge you. Okay. So is everybody good with Ms. Faulkner? Okay. Thank you. I appreciate your time. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
So do we go into,
It was information.
it was just for information?
It was information.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted everybody to just kind of be on, because when I talked to her for that 5 minutes on Wednesday, it opened up. I'm like, okay, I understand a little bit more. So I just felt like everybody should hear the same information. So that's what that was
Just
about.
update.
Okay. I guess if we're back on the presentations, we are, yeah, that's the old one, sorry. So Sue, no. Moving forward, no. For the present, what you brought forth?
Bob Haber.
Bob is a no.
He hasn't responded.
Okay, moving on.
All right. Dr. Edmondson? We are.
Does anyone have any information on it?
We already did that.
We did that, yeah. That's what we did while we were waiting.
Yeah.
Remember Scouts Honor? We on you.
I said real brief. I've been reading some things in Education Week about cell phone policies that are happening across the country. And I thought I said it before, but I'd like us to take a hard look at, cell phones in our schools, what that's going to look like, what it can look like. I think that I had said this to the President Laster, that hopefully with all of our committees, we can get commitments and dates, maybe 3 or 4 for the year, where we know where the committee meeting is happening so that we can get these committee meetings done. Policy, I think we're behind, and I think we need to catch up. But one of the things that I think we should really take a look at is cell phones. And I know I said last time we need to talk about placement, promotion, placement, retention. That would be another thing that I think that we need to look at. This week, I've talked to, last week, talked to Dr. Gardner. We're going to review the code of conduct. Something that I'm pushing against, I have no problem with you all knowing this, I'm pushing against 10-day suspensions, period. I believe if there's a fight, if we talk about a fight in general, we do have RVLC. I'm willing to have that conversation. An aggressor who starts a fight, you're going to have to go to RVLC. You just cannot do that in our schools. But, when we talk about the code of conduct, it doesn't tell you specifically the time, that somebody would get if you get a fight, if you're in a fight or something. But I'm against 10 days. I think that's just too much. You can't be gone for 10 days. It's just too much. And so we're going to be looking at that. We're going to ask some teachers to be a part. We'll certainly ask a couple of parents to be a part, but we're going to review that document and hopefully get some revisions done, get them approved, and then we can get them for the start of school. Because again, this 10-day stuff is just too much. And, we're talking about chronic absences it does impact that too. But I'm very hopeful this year, just about everything in terms of the culture and climate. This week, we welcome our principals back. Well, they're back. And we're welcoming them back, and we're going to do some training with them and then end with a, team building exercise. In 2 weeks, we will welcome back the teachers, and we're going to be talking about, for me, the theme is really about culture and climate. I don't necessarily feel that we need to chime in on academics, because we're doing that. That should be a no-brainer. That's what we're doing. We're going and we see a lot of good things that are happening with achievement. But what about culture and climate? Okay. When you go into the buildings, there's certain things that I need to see, that we need to see, and we're going to be chiming in on that, what that looks like. So when you come in, I think there should be, I don't want to say a checklist, but you can examine culture and climate. There's a way that you can do it where you know that it's looking the way that it looks. So that's going to be the theme this year, is the culture and climate, because my goal is to welcome some parents back that have been gone. And if we continue on what we're doing and some of the good things that we're doing, I think that'll happen. Lastly, Brock's Barbecue and Back to School. I'm going to encourage anybody that would like to participate to please contact Eve so that we can do that. We had a really successful event last year, and based on things that I see, I expect a very successful event this year. That event will happen on Saturday, September 7th, tentatively 12 to 4. Also, and lastly, there's another movie night. I went to the last one by Communities, and I forgot what the name of it was. But now the city, I believe, has theirs next Friday. So not this Friday, next Friday. I'd like us as a district, maybe as a board, just show up. You don't have to sit with me. You don't have to sit next to me. You don't have to sit next to us. But there's going to be, we're going to have some registration there and just some activities. You got to be present in your own city. If you're not, you don't deserve to be looked at. So on the 23rd, that's their movie night, and I will be there. I'm going to make certain that a good majority of our staff is there as well. That's on the 23rd, Friday. I don't know. The Movies in the Park. Movies in the Park. Movies in the Park. Movies in the Park. Yeah, it's the pavilion. Is that what they call it? The pavilion. The pavilion. So I'd just like to see that. I'm going to promote it in the community too. And just last thing, if you know somebody that is looking to, I try to make certain that the school district is connected to the community. If there's a community-wide event, please get it to me so that I can get it out to families, because I want to support our community. So that's it for me today.
Dr. Edmondson.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam President, with the returning of your principals, are there any changes in the administrative principals coming? Are they the same, or?
Except there'll be somebody coming before you. I don't know. I'll let Mr. Brock, are you before me or after me? I'll let Mr. Brock address it. He reminds me to stay in my lane sometimes. So I'm going to stay in my lane and let him do that. But I'm very excited, and I'll let him share that. But all the same except the middle school. The middle school is not, it doesn't have some, we should now. I met him today. Yes. Thank you to the board. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Dr. Edmondson. We have the report of the Director of Human Resources, Mr. Doc Brock. Since Dr. Edmondson has put you on Front Street to give an
Answer the
update.
question.
Put me on,
We'll go ahead and get
Put
that
me on-
before the action
it's
item.
working? Put me on blast. Yeah, so some exciting news. We have identified a candidate for the middle school principal who met with Dr. Edmondson today, which is our final round of interviews. He'll be coming before you at the next board meeting, possibly starting, obviously, before you all approve him, per our board policy, because we will need him to be doing some things that need to get done before the opening of school. So we have identified a candidate. He met with Dr. Edmondson today. After that meeting, he and I met to briefly discuss contract. I'm in the process of checking his references, and should those references check out, he will be the candidate that we move forward.
When you say contract, he's going to be part of RASA, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I'd like to say something. I don't want it to be the elephant in the room, but 2 or 3 weeks ago, I heard, Dr. Edmondson hired his friend, something. Come. First of all, I'd like to say this. In education, it's a small world. There are plenty of people I know, and I know I've had this conversation before. Whether somebody is my friend or not, that means nothing to me, okay? I want to get the best candidate for us, okay? And I've heard that, and I'm like, first of all, that person is not a friend of mine. I don't know that person, okay? That person knows a friend. We had a mutual friend. It happens. It happens in this field, okay? It's not my friend, but if it is my friend, I knew Kevin Brock. I met Kevin. I didn't even know him. I met him online on an interview.
During COVID.
During COVID. I didn't even know the guy. okay? But then it's, oh, that's his friend.
He's not my friend.
He's my friend now.
That came out wrong. That's why I said COVID.
You know, I'm comfortable with,
Zoom.
I'm comfortable with,
Zoom.
I'm
We met
comfortable
on
with who
Zoom.
I am, so I'm sorry that it sounded that way, but I just want you to know that there is a process. We always get this, you know, there is a process to it, and
HR.
there is a process to this, and this process, round one, there was round two. I don't know this person, but this person knows somebody here. They met them. That doesn't mean they're friends, but it's a small world in education, and I always want to bring the best candidates to you that we can. Pretty excited about this gentleman, and you know, hopefully, as I said to him, I'll support you. I'm not going to micromanage you. But I told him all the positives that are going on and that, you know, there are some things that he has to be mindful of, but we're trying to move that school forward and how important that is. So I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Can I ask another question regarding the middle school then? Well, what about assistant principal?
Great question. So we've been trying to look back in the historical references to see, one, we wanted to get the principal on board first and let that person work with Mr. Niedermeyer to determine whether or not they want to have a dean of students or what that might look like. We were looking back to see if there had ever been a dean of students. I know we have an academic dean, but I don't have that answer for you yet. I want to see what they come up with. I want that to be their decision. They might decide, yep, we want an assistant principal. They might decide we want a dean. If it's a dean, then it'll come before you as a presentation. And then obviously the next board meeting would be some sort of approval for that position. And that would, I think that already exists. That position exists in the RAZA contract. No, the dean of students. I think I think that exists, but I'll double check that. It can, yeah, it can live in there. So I don't have that answer, to be frank, but I want them to have that decision. Really, I don't want to make that decision for anybody. So.
Since we're speaking on principals, so at the high school, you still have Mr. Petty, and there was two other, was Marino?
Yeah, we have
and
Mr. Petty, Miss Marino, and then Mr. White.
He will be returning.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
And then I know we discussed that you would give a staffing update, but you kind of want to wait to see. I mean, obviously principals are important to know where they are, but the staff kind of need the first day of school to
Yeah,
really
the
see
plan
who's-
for me is to give you a full update at the next board meeting on how many resignations we had. I'm not going to give names, obviously. How many retirements we had, not going to give, well, those are you already know. And how many people we've hired in what positions, just to give you an overview of where we're at. For example, I just hired 4 people today. I'm making 3 more offers tomorrow. So it's a busy time. I will say the great thing is through negotiations last year, it's made us very competitive. It's given us the ability to be more attractive financially to people. So we have yet to benefit. Not that I want to benefit from anybody else's circumstances. I certainly don't. But I had anticipated some benefits from some local competitors, which has not come to fruition yet. And here's the deal. At the end of the day, many of the students aren't going anywhere. So even if you laid off 50 teachers, those kids aren't going anywhere for the most part. You're going to have to hire all those folks back. So, you know, that was the reality of the situation. And I don't think that we're in that position yet, but we may be in the next couple of weeks. But I'm not anticipating having to hire too many more people here. So.
Thank you, Mr. Brock. So you have an action item here. Can someone read that for Sunbelt staffing?
Move that the Board of Education approves the Sunbelt staffing agreement through June 30th, 2025. Rationale, special services staffing. Budget implication, varies special service accounts depending on staff. And client services agreement.
Support.
Been motion by Evans, second by Kennard. Roll call.
And,
I'm sorry, thank you.
oh.
Go ahead.
Okay, just for information, this is a sister company to the one that you approved last time. It's the same parent company, just 2 different entities that we can work with. They have different pools of candidates that we can pull from. This contract had been reviewed by our legal, and then it was being reviewed by their legal with the changes that we had suggested, so that's why you didn't have it last time. Same parent company, 2 very similar contracts. We wanted them both reviewed. So same concept. It's the EduStaff for special ed. but different pool of candidates, different positions from that
That's what
company.
I was going to ask.
I figured you were going to ask that, so I
Yeah.
tried to get ahead of it.
Okay.
So it replaces EduStaff.
No.
No,
Or
it's a company like
complementing
EduStaff, but for
EduStaff.
special ed services.
Special ed services.
Correct.
They
Two
have a
different
bigger
companies
pool.
that merged together under one parent company, but different positions in each. They have a wider pool base to pull from if we need somebody.
And so when it says, but it varies by special service account, is this depending on, it'll depend on the student? that it's a-
Medicare, IDEA, general fund. I mean, it's just, that's why they put, I'm guessing that's why they put, I don't want to make
Yeah,
a guess,
right.
but
I just want the public to be able to
yeah,
understand that.
it's
Right.
not ambiguous in purpose. It's ambiguous because
You
based
can
on the
build
I,
so many
the
ways.
IEP, the specialized position.
Okay.
Is it whatever the position might be, so,
Right.
correct.
And we can have Dr. Meeks at the next meeting, just give a little,
Mm-hmm.
because he's well-versed with this and would know for sure.
He
so we
is,
can
for
have
sure.
him
Yep.
Come forth.
Okay. Thank you.
Evetts,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Piles,
Yes.
Wester, yes, Laster,
Yes.
McCarthy,
Yes.
and Davis.
Yes.
Motion passes. You want to talk about this one? We'll
I
read the
can.
motion
Yeah,
first.
go ahead.
Madam President, move that the Board of Education approves Brittany Pergar as the PBIS/Emotional Learning Coordinator for Romulus Community Schools for the 2024 school year. Rationale is the personnel recommendation. Her salary is $77,000. General fund accounts will be hit, and it's divided up into 11-216, 1440, 36, 0007530, and then the other account is 3660 at the end. One is a .4 and one's a .6.
Support.
Grant funds, she said general funds.
What are those? Oh. So I have a question. I'm sorry, Madam President. As I look at the compensation, this doesn't start, it starts in August, but it ends in June. And then it picks up in July of next year. So this employee is not going to be working for the months of,
I put that at 192.
never mind, it makes sense. Yeah, okay, so they're not starting until after
She's prorated.
she's prorated, okay.
Correct.
But it was short, I thought it was short, 6 weeks, but it's not, okay,
She started later,
okay.
Well, it is short, I mean,
but it's not.
July 1. Is that what you
Correct.
meant?
Right. She looked at it, but it's fine.
What is the difference between the 7530 and the 3060?
One is Title I and one is Title IV.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you said general fund. It's grant funds.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Just want to clarify. I freaked out for a minute. I was like, ooh,
No.
no, that's grant funds. I
that why
double
you
checked
went
that.
running
I was
over
went
there?
over there. I was like, does it say grant or does it say general? Yeah, Title I and I believe it's Title IV.
Okay.
So I have a question. Are we approving this is not a one-year contract? Okay.
And this is a position here in central office?
It's not a central office position. I
I'm
mean,
reading this central office employment contract, so.
That's, so when I sent that to the attorneys, that's what they say to call it. The position is not a central office position. It's a coordinator role / supervisory role / what's that?
I said they need emotional support at central office too.
Lots
Who
of
does this
that.
person report to, or what
It'll be-
department?
It'll be Dr. Edmondson.
Right here, absolutely. I'm gonna ensure that this position is done correctly. And
Successfully.
we're emphasizing it and making certain that this person gets support.
Your microphone, please.
I am the direct report, because I want to make certain that we invested last year financially in some things for PBIS, and, you know, you have to deal with principals, okay? And you need support in dealing with some principals, because if they think that you're too young sometimes, I'll speak for myself. If I thought you were too young, I'm like, what do you know? Telling me, come on now. So I'm just there to support because I'm going to make certain that she gets the support and that our students get positive behavior support. I mean, there's a lot of things that I want to see that I need to see. When I talk to you about culture and climate, this is one of them. We should go in and we should see kids doing some really good things and being valued for making good decisions, making improvements. And it didn't work last year. It just didn't work the way that I would have wanted it to. And I was not the supervisor, but I said, you best believe I'm going to meet with this person who's also going to work with the attendance liaisons when I meet on Thursdays, so that we're all talking the same language, so that we can start kids that have good attendance too, kids that are showing improvement. Then we work through them through the PBIS and say, hey, listen, there's some other things we want to do. So that's the answer, me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And this will be for the whole district?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, and then is there an existing PBIS team? Because I know, I mean, we've kind of, it's
I
gone
would
away,
say
but is there existing?
district-wide, it doesn't exist, but in the buildings, they have their own PBIS teams within the buildings. And I think my goal for this position is to bring everybody together. So we don't have to do the same thing, but there should be a launch of PBIS. There should be events happening throughout the year. There should be a closure event every year. And that's at a basic level. And I don't know, and I want to say that we're not doing those things, but I would like to see it more embedded. Like I say we, as a district, we expended some title or some grant funds on some really great things for kids that they should be rewarded with. And it's not trinket stuff. I mean, it's really good stuff that they should be doing. And in some buildings, that's not happening. So, and again, as a former principal, you get busy. If somebody's not there helping kind of launch that program, you got a million things going on, so I'm not laying blame anywhere. I just think that my goal for this person is to bring everybody together, have a district-wide meeting at least once a month so that they can talk about what are you doing, how are you launching it. In a past life, that was my job, so I kind of have a good idea of what I think it should look like. So that's sort of my goal for this person. And there were some obstacles last year. The person that we had doing it was also doing some special ed stuff. They were also doing having to work with one student in particular that it just makes it difficult. You know, when you're working with a student part-time and you're trying to do the PBS part, it needs to be somebody committed full-time to the position. They have a direct report to the superintendent, and the superintendent and the cabinet will be supporting them also.
So there will be a district-wide emphasis, awareness of PBIS.
Absolutely.
And focusing on the good behaviors and not just the punitive consequences that
We do
are
a great job of the punitive, and just in education in general. I mean, we do I hate to say it, but we're really good at the punitive side. What you're not good at, what I don't think sometimes we're not good at, is recognizing those kids who are doing what they're supposed to be doing and then giving them, and I don't know if it's a reward, it's just acknowledging the fact that they're doing what's right.
Right.
Because the more that you do that, the less punitive you have on the other side.
And punitive doesn't work for everyone, and sometimes the positive reinforcements
Correct.
will work for, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, thank you for
We have
bringing
a lot
this.
of work to do. I was at a meeting and a parent brought up that her student is getting medallions at every ceremony, but there was a dance that was canceled. And that's something, when you tell a kid you're going to give them a Twinkie, they want the Twinkie. So you can't cancel things like that. So having somebody just solely over PBIS will be very important, and I think it will help with classroom behaviors.
I absolutely
So,
agree.
I'm excited, and I guess we had a motion by Wester, supported by Piles. Roll call.
Wester, yes. Piles,
Yes,
Kennard,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
I'm sorry. Evans,
Yes.
McCarthy,
Yes.
Laster.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, board. All right, we are at report of board subcommittees. We're gonna cross the action item out. Just gonna piggyback off of what Dr. Edmondson says.
You're going to cross
Oh,
off
I'm
that?
sorry, because I was putting with the guy wasn't here. I apologize. Retract that. Okay, Sue, did you want to read it? She's like, wait, it's my time to shine. Hold on 1 second. Don't cancel that.
Move that the Board of Education authorizes the superintendent to proceed with the Beverly property sale. The rationale is liquidation of unused property, budget implications, fund equity in the general ledger account that is to be created for new student programs. Thank you.
Support.
It was motion by Evans, supported by Wester. Any discussion?
It will be.
So I just, if I can give a little background,
Please.
Madam President,
Yes, go ahead. Yes. I think you need to.
put her in check. So in speaking with the Realtor, we had this property for sale for several years, and there was someone who was working diligently on getting the wetlands taken care of through Wade Trim. Eventually, the interest fell away from that company because the city would not change the zoning. So they just finally gave up. Now, Buck, what is it, Buck Oil comes in and has said, we want it regardless. It's already been approved by the city to do what they want. They're going to close, I believe it's in 90 days, cash. I believe that that's what this contract says. Paris, correct me, 45 days. They're ready to rock and roll. They already have approval by the city, so nothing should hold this up whatsoever. Dr. Edmondson, did you have anything different? Judy, did you have anything different?
Nope.
As the committee? So, here we are, just, hopefully, it's vacant land. It's, I believe it's the old Hayti property. For
The only
those-
thing I have to say is long time coming. Okay.
Yes.
Great job, Finance Committee.
We've been working on this for,
Thank you.
looking at this for many years, so it's finally happening. Maybe.
So what is
Before I
the,
jump
I
in
know
there.
you said the time, what is this paragraph 3, where it talks about the purchaser agrees to complete the sale within 10 days after waiving its due diligence inspections?
Right, they've already done all of, they've done everything. They've done everything. They've already walked through it. The city has already signed off on everything. They've got the rezoning. So,
That was just the language in the contract at the
Right.
time when they wrote this.
yeah, so they've already had their 45 days. They've been in there. They know what they want to do. They've already gotten the approval. Everything is ready to rock and roll. And I wish the Realtor, I don't know, he was supposed to communicate with me that he was coming, but something must have come up on his plate that he couldn't be here. I believe they've already given us the $25,000.
Wow. Have they?
You don't know if that happened? Okay, all right. Okay,
So that's something that Dr. Edmondson can find out.
right, with his authority.
Make sure.
Okay. Thank you. Who supported that?
It was over there.
Thank you, Ms. Wester.
Ms. Rogers.
It's coming.
Evans.
Yes.
Kennard.
Yes.
Piles.
Yes.
Laster.
Yes.
McCarthy.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Wester, motion is approved. Yes, it's vacant land.
So it's vacant, so why did they talk about inspecting the HVAC?
Any other reports from subcommittees? If we could just, especially for policy committee, try to have some dates on the calendar, piggybacking off of what Dr. Edmondson said. All right. Well, report of board president, I'm going to keep it brief. I want to thank everybody for responding for their availability for the board goals, in alignment also with the superintendent evaluation. So that will be September 16th. I did respond.
I double-checked my calendar. It was the following weekend I'm going to be gone.
Well,
so.
look at that. Won't he do it? Okay, so I will be sending out a calendar invite, and hopefully me and Eve will be able to have the calendar up and running and available. We're just trying to finish some final dates and have everything on there. But it will be user-friendly where, you know, we just make sure we have everything up to par for you guys. Oh, no. I would just like to ask if you guys, I know we're busy, but can you check your emails at least once a day? I will send a text message if it is an emergent need, but just
Thank
if you
you.
can just peek in and see like, hey, you know. But I know everybody has a life and busy, but if you guys could just check your email, no shade. Okay. I did have a lot of questions that came across, and I am gonna just send them out. I know Debbie had asked me about the guidance center and the itemized flooring costs and like things like that, so I didn't ignore. I did get everything together, so I will be funneling that out to you guys to make sure that all the questions that were asked at the last board meeting took me about a week, but I have accomplished that, and I'll make sure that that is sent out to all the board members, so everyone is aware. I have upcoming presentations. Mark Graham, I feel like it's good to know about our grants, so he will be coming forth to give a presentation. And Dr. Molnar over the CTE program, she will be coming to give a presentation as well. So everybody is kind of on the same page of the teacher cadet. Any questions about CTE, that'll be the time to ask her. She'll have a presentation coming forth. And like I said, I'm just going to keep it brief. I appreciate everyone, and thank you for your contributions for the basket. It is in the back, and Miss Queen Bales is going to put it together for us. So, thank you. And we are at communication from board members. Trustee Powles?
The baskets all look beautiful. There's so many baskets. And so just a huge thank you to everybody who helped assemble them, donated items, donated baskets. That's quite impressive. And President Laster, thank you for your diligence. Thank you for just the positivity that you bring. Thank you for always being available for questions, for our concerns, and then coming back with updates. It is noticed and appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Secretary Wester? Rogers, I'm so sorry.
Oh, it'll get changed. We got it coming.
He keeps saying it every time I say it. It's like I'm in trouble.
I just want to thank everyone for coming out. The presentation that was given for our tutoring to kind of like meet the needs of our students. That was really good information. Ms. Bales, thank you for putting the baskets together. Looking forward to going to the golf outing tomorrow. You know, I made a sacrifice. No, I'm not playing. I'm coming to walk. I'm gonna drive the golf cart. But no, just ready to come out and support our students and thank all, everyone that came out, the sponsors or whatnot. Good meeting. Thank you, Madam President, for getting this moving, and hey, look forward to working with you.
Treasurer McCarthy? Vice President Davis? Treasurer Evans?
Treasurer? No.
I'm sorry, Trustee Evans.
Paris and I will share the responsibility. I just want to bring an awareness that the statement was made that it is not, that there was a false statement about the tutoring being paid for by the buildings. Up until this point, we had those expenses paid by the buildings, okay? So until this point where we got this grant, we had been told that it was coming out of different funding at the building level, okay? I want to say, have fun tomorrow at the golf outing, be safe, and get some holes in one. Somebody win a car? Is a car up for this year? No? Hopefully the Yeti cooler doesn't get consumed on the golf course, no. But thank you, everyone that came out tonight. Carol, thank you so much for your dedication and commitment to helping with the golf outing. Staff administrators back there, Ray, thanks for coming. You guys have a good weekend and have fun tomorrow. Be safe on that golf course. I know what it can get like.
Well, look at Mama Evans giving well wishes. Okay.
Don't drink the Yeti cooler on the course.
Trustee
Kennard.
Kennard.
Okay. I would like to thank everyone for sitting with us till by the time we get out here, it'll be 7:50. I'm going to be real short because this is still summertime, so thank you very much for sitting in through us with this. Also to our president, I just want to give you a high-level kudos in terms of what, and this is my second time sitting with you and seeing how we're moving right through with our meetings. And we're very engaged. And I'd like to say to Dr. Edmondson, I really, really see some of the things that your administration and staff is doing and the things that we're talking about today is really encouraging in terms of knowing that I see bright days, sunny days, and golden days for the district in terms of, particularly with tutoring. That's very important, and I know there's some more things that's going to be coming before us as we focus more on our teachers and the staff and seeing that Romulus Community School District is moving in a good and prosperous position. Thank you very much to all of my board members. Enjoy the summer and the golfing tomorrow. I'm not a golfer, but I will be there in the morning to watch them off as I head to work. So while I'm working, you guys will be out there golfing. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. It's just, Dr. Edmondson sometimes just gives main character energy. All the time. Dr. Edmondson,
I
the
can't
one
even
and
keep
only.
up with you young people. I mean, my son said something to me today. I was like, what are you talking about? I can't understand the young people language. Just to, thank you, President Laster, just for the tone, just period, the tone. And then, you talking to me, I appreciate that. I try to be aware of things, so I thank you for that. To the board, too, appreciate it. It's nice to have a good board meeting and not be all fired up for any of us, so I appreciate that. To my team, I say it all the time, love working with you. This was a tough summer for me, very much so, and you all know that. So appreciate the support you've given me through, some of the struggles. So I love working with you. I'm looking forward to doing it another year. Eve, thank you, as always, for always taking care of us, always taking care of us. I appreciate that. And last, to my sons, to have both of them here is it's just wonderful for me to have both my sons there, both those two guys, just having them here. So, love you guys and I appreciate you. I don't know about working them to death, but this is it. They helped out the district a lot. There's a lot of work. And lastly, to the community, that there are a lot of good things happening in terms of when you go to that middle school, you're going to see at the end of the month, you're going to see some great things in terms of our media center and our cafeteria. And in three months, the Smart Lab. And at the high school, you're going to see all of the new cafeteria things. But it's a lot of good energy. I hope that it's not just about the physical site, but even if you go to the middle school, you see that raggedy curb that we've all seen before. Thanks to Jason, appreciate it, that we're taking care of the curbing, in terms of the curb, just the curb appeal. So just trying to move the community forward too. So thank you, everybody, and have a safe day, safe night.
And Eve, I apologize for not acknowledging you. Thank you very
What
much.
time is the golf outing?
What time for the golf outing?
Be there before
Let everybody know what time.
Be there before 9 or after?
Yeah, the golf course, so that, some people are still saying, is it Lakes of Taylor? No, it is not. It's Gateway. We golfed there yesterday, Jason and I.
Who won?
He knew it was, I didn't say that. She said it. She said it, okay? I don't want to embarrass you like that.
Okay.
So,
So we're
Gateway was
gonna,
beautiful. It'll be Gateway. If you can show up at 8 o'clock, that would be fine. If you get there a little bit before, it would be fine too. Shotgun start, that means 9 o'clock at every different hole. We have 132 people that'll be there. So
thank you.
Until 8,
to-
until,
8 until 9. 9 is when you actually start golfing.
but I mean, like, if we can't get there in the morning, this runs.
Oh, 2:20, 2:30, everybody will be inside. They should be done by then. Because we have a rule, if you're not good, pick your ball up and you gotta keep going, just so you know.
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
Support? All in favor? Aye. Ooh, look at that.
7:51.